All right, to make our house, we're going to need to start out doing a little bit of math first. Okay, the main part of the house is basically just a square. And based on the work area, the playground that we have to work with, I'm going to make my house 800 millimeters by 800 millimeters. I'm putting a roof on the house. I'm going to make that 45 degrees. And I'm also going to put a chimney on the house. I'm going to go up 300 millimeters. I'm going to go over 200 millimeters. And then down to the roof. Right, so I know the length of these four sides. I need to find this length right here so I can make this into a right triangle if you think back to geometry. And we're going to use a little bit of trig. Okay, so I know that this half is 400 millimeters because that's half the total length, which was 800 millimeters. So we're going to use the cosine of 45 degrees equals, this is going to be my adjacent side, which is 400 millimeters over the hypotenuse. Now we do a little bit of algebra. I multiply both sides by h, divide both sides by cosine of 45, so I get the hypotenuse equals 400 millimeters divided by cosine of 45 degrees. Right, so I'm going to use my calculator. 400 divided by cosine 45, I get 565.685429. So I think rounding it off to the nearest hundredth will be enough. So I'm going to round that off to 565.69 millimeters. Right? Now I need to find this length. So I can find this height right here of this right triangle and subtract it from 300. Okay, so on this one, we're going to have the tangent, and if this side's 45, this side's also 45, so it's 45, 90, 45. So we've got tangent 45 equals the opposite over the adjacent, and the adjacent right here is 200 millimeters. Okay, so I take the tangent of 45 and just multiply it times 200. The tangent of 45 is 1. And you can use your calculator, but if you've worked with trig very much, you know that the tangent of 45 is 1. So that means this is 200 millimeters, which means my x, I subtract the 200 from the 300, equals 100 millimeters. All right? So now I've got all my distances. I've got my four sides of my square, 800 millimeters each. My hypotenuse right here, I'm going to make a 45-degree turn, go 565.69 millimeters. Since I've got 45 degrees on each one, that means this is going to be a 90-degree turn, and come down another 565.69 millimeters. All right, so let's start working on the programming. All right, working on our code. First thing we want to do is click on File, New Text Project, because we're going to be programming this in Python. Now, for some reason, whenever I start a new project, it always has this, defaults to this drive for forward 200 millimeters. I'm going to get rid of that because I don't need that. Now, if I look at the playground, I'm going to use the art canvas because that's just a plain canvas. And we can see that our robot starts out right in the center. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I'm going to move my robot up into the position I want to start my square. So under the main, I'm going to click Enter. Now in Python, if it's got a colon at the end of a line like def main, if you've got while or an if statement, any of those statements, anything that you want to be in that loop, you want to be indented under that. So it's automatically going to indent this for us. Now, we don't actually have to type out all the code. In Vex, we can come over here to the drivetrain. So I want us to drive forward. And let's see. Yeah. And I can just drag this down there. And I'm just going to kind of make a guess, and I'm going to go forward about 300 millimeters. Okay, so that's going to take me, actually I'm going to go 400 because my sides are 800. If it starts in the center, for my house to be centered. Actually, I think make that 200 because I've got the roof on top of it, so I don't want the center. It doesn't really matter. Just move on. Okay, so I want to go move forward 200 millimeters. Then I want to have it turn right. And I do want it to turn right 90 degrees. Now I want it to drive halfway across the length of my house. So I'm going to drive forward. I'm going to make this 400 millimeters. All right. Now this is where I'm going to start my sketch. All right, so I want the pin to go down. I think the pin's under the controls. Nope. Ah, there it is. All right, it's under the look. So pin move down. All right, now I want to draw all four sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what we refer to as a loop. So I first need to define a variable. So I'm going to come back up here, enter, and I'm going to say x equals 0. All right, and I'm going to type in, whoops, I don't want that to be there. Tab over. While x is less than 4. Now here I'm going to put a colon at the end, so it's going to indent everything for me. I want it to drive, I'm going to turn right 90 degrees. So I'm going to go back up here to the drivetrain. You can go up there, or I can just highlight this, hit Control C, Control V, turn right 90 degrees. Then I'm going to drive forward. And I can copy and paste, or I can drag from over there, it doesn't matter. All right, now I'm going to drive forward 800 millimeters. And while it's turning, I'm going to have it wait, say 5 milliseconds. Now, I probably didn't have to type that in. There's probably a command over here somewhere. Yeah, here it is. Wait. That's 1 second. This is all capitalized. Okay. Lowercase, it is case sensitive, so we will need to keep an eye on that. All right. Now I need to keep track of how many times we're doing this. So I'm going to say x equals x plus 1. All right, so I can start that and see what happens. I don't want to type in too much code before I try it. I want to see if what I'm doing is working the way I expect it to. Okay, he turned right 90 degrees. He went 800 millimeters. All right, so I want to make sure that he stops after he draws this side. All right, good. Okay, so the code that I've got in works so far. All right, enter. Now, after it does that, I want to get out of the loop, so I'm going to back up. So it goes back under our main function. Right now, I'm going to want it to turn left, and it's got to go actually 135 degrees to get to the 45 degree mark. Okay, because he's facing one way, so he's got to go up 90 plus another 45. And what I want to actually do is I'm going to highlight these two. I'm going to copy those. And so I want to turn right, 135. Drive forward, and we came out with 565.69 millimeters. And I want to be driving and turning quite a bit, so I can just hit Control V again, just to make change. Now this time I want it to turn left. I want to turn left 90 degrees. And then we want to drive the 565.69 again. All right, so that should get us the roof. I'm going to start and run it again. Because if I wait until the very end and I've got some errors in there, then it's going to take me longer to find them. So if I do small blocks of code and check it each time, it takes a little bit of time while we're doing the programming, but it can save a lot of time in the end if we make a mistake, because then mistakes kind of compound on each other. So if we make a mistake at the beginning, then we don't want to wait until the end. All right, so we can see we did our roof, but we didn't do it quite the way we wanted to. So let's double check our code here. All right. So the mistake I made was turning right 135 degrees instead of left. All right, so that'll fix that. So instead of turning right 135 degrees and going down, it's going to turn left and it's going to go up. All right, so we're going to be doing some more turning and driving. So I'm just going to hit Control C there, hit Control V. Now I'm going to be at the corner of the house. So this one, actually, I could have it turn, but they've got a command up here. Turn to rotation. So I'm going to go through and delete that line of code. I want to turn to rotation. And I actually want this to be 0 degrees, so it's going to be facing straight up. So I'm going to turn 0 degrees. In my drawing, I made the chimney height 300 millimeters. I'm going to hit Control V. That's going to give me my turn again. So this time I want it to turn right. (90 degrees). And the width of my chimney was 200 millimeters. I want to turn right again. I'm just hitting paste because I've already copied it. So then I want it to move forward 100 millimeters. Now I want to pick the pin up. Like that, and type in up. And he's already facing straight down because we've just finished the chimney. So I'm going to have him drive forward again. I'll just copy and paste this, because I think that's faster than dragging from over here and looking over here. So I'm going to have it drive forward 1200 millimeter. And then I want to have it turn to rotation 0 degrees again, just so he's facing up, so he looks good. And I need to tab that over, so let's see how that looks. All right, so first he's going to draw the box. Now we'll see if making 135 degrees left fixed the roof, and it did. So it turns 90 degrees. Now we want to face 0. We're going to go up 300, over 200, then down 100, and then we'll go down 1200, go a little bit below the house, and then just turn around and face forward. All right, so that is the code for creating a house using the pen in Robot and the VexVR.